All right, YouTube, this is Eric. Once again, I'm here with my buddy Bill. And the second piece we're going to do from a loop-to-loop connection is actually creating a wind-on leader that you're going to hook to your main line. So, Bill, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, first thing we're going to do is create our loop in one end. So I'm going to mark my line.
And this is the braid piece that you're going to tie to your main line. It's also what you're going to feed your monofilament into.
So I'm just kind of bending the line to create a mark, so I know where to run the needle in and out of.
So this is similar to creating the loop on the end of your main line. You're just creating the loop for your wind-on leader.
And you always flip that around. Let's get the needle started. Always push the line. Whoop. Pull the line onto the needle rather than push the needle into the line. And you can see where I made my little bend in the line, that mark. That's where I'm running the needle out of. And there's our loop. And now we're going to resize it. That's about the size we want. So I'm going to keep it right there. And I've got that little tag in that I'm going to run back into the line. And by pulling the line out of the line and back into the line, you actually lock it down so this line will not slide over itself. Take that tag in, put it in my latch. And the line is pulled into itself, and that little place right there locks it in to where it's 100% connection.
That's awesome.
And that's the loop end of the wind-on leader. The next thing we want to do is get your fluorocarbon line or mono line, whatever you're using.
In this case, we're going to use 60-pound Yozori fluorocarbon leader.
And with your needle collection, you actually have needles that'll handle different size lines. So you want to get the needle that will handle that line.
So 60 pound.
And a little trick is, when you cut the line, you want to cut it clean, because if you look at this line's been pressed down, so it's got a little knob on the end. Yeah. And so when I stick this line into my needle, I always like to cut it at an angle and try to cut it so that it doesn't create a knot at the end of the line. So it's easier to go in. So basically I've got a bunch of needles here. I'm going to see which one it fits into. Like it'll go into this one right here. And you want to get the smallest one possible. And there's one right there. Okay, this one's smaller than that one. So I'm going to go with this needle. So this needle, you're going to feed this line all the way in to the needle, because we're going to run this this needle, this line into the hollow core. And if you watch YouTube or any fishing website, there are a ton of ways to make wind-ons. Some of these techniques involve using winding or serving thread or other types of methods of serving. I use a technique that's similar to what Tackle Direct has posted online, where you don't have to use serving thread. You use your own line to tighten up your connection. So what I do is I come down here and I get about a foot, 16 inches right there, and that's where I'm going to insert. I'm going to have this line extra. And with this method, you only have to insert the fluorocarbon, about 18 inches to get strength. I usually go 24 to 32 just to be safe. But 18 is all you really need. Sometimes you can get away on smaller wind-ons, you can get away with 12 inches. And wetting your line just makes it easier to thread, because that needle's actually got to separate that hollow core thread. Let's see, we're in there. We're getting close. Let's see, we're in there about, that's close to 2 feet right there. So I'm going to run the needle out. You just pull that out, pull the thread out of the needle. And then you just run that till the needle's in. So your fluorocarbon leader is now inside your line. And it's already tense and it's, hold it. Now we're going to finish up here. At this point here, we're going to use this to serve and tie up this connection so it doesn't slip in and out of this leader. So now we're ready to start serving this on here using this line. But what I'm going to do first is I have this stuff called Tack Glue. You get it from bhptackle.com. Basil's always willing to help you out. And I'm just going to glue, put some of that glue on the line. And this stuff dries super fast. And it just kind of melds the line to the fluorocarbon. So now that's in place. So what we want to do now is we want to create tension. And I am not at home, but at home I have a 4-foot board with clamps on each end that I can clamp this tight. Because when you do this next part, you want the line as tight as possible. We're going to put this loop on a doorknob. And I'm going to have Eric hold this really tight as he can. So the trick to this, and when you get this tight, you want it to kind of like make a twang like a guitar string will, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But what you want to do is have some loose wraps go around this 3 or 4 times. And you can see those loose wraps there. And what you're going to do is you're going to come back and you're going to wrap over this really tight. So you want to pinch this and start wrapping around really tight. And what I do is I usually wrap around 10 times. And this is where the tightness comes in. You pull this down. We need it tighter, Eric.
Okay.
And see, it'll automatically, if you feed it right, it will wrap onto itself. Tighter, 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 tighter. There we go. And we are just wrapping around until we get to where the line inserts into the hollow core. So we bring the line, this wrap, all the way back up to over where the line is inserted into the hollow core, which is that point, and then to there. Now we're going to finish with a brazzuto, which is basically a uni knot that you turn back over onto itself. So basically do 6 turns on the uni knot, which is right there. Now we're going to take this end and pull it or wrap it back the opposite way, the loop. And as it unwinds one end, it winds it on the other. Get that a little bit wet, and now we pull that off and down. Now that's kind of tight, but what you want to do is get some pliers, and you're going to pull this tight until you see a color change in the line. And these are not my pliers.
They're not the best either. Yeah, so you might just little wrap it around them.
See, it's tightening everything up as I pull it, and that line will actually darken. As you tighten it. Yeah, you can see I got it moist, but you can see a little bit of a color change there. As you tighten that up. Okay, so we're going to cut this off. Knife works. Now, as you cut that knot, you get that little bit of a tag there. We're going to reuse the tack glue over this whole knot. This takes a little bit there. This stuff dries super fast. Just got to watch your fingers because it's stronger, tackier than super glue. Your fingers will stick together. And it dries really fast. And there's your serve and the wind on. You can see the original loose threads underneath, but you just wrapped tightly back over. And that just kind of grabs the line. And like I said, there's a number of different ways to do this serve to make a wind on. But on my wind-ons, I can tell you we've hooked 600 to 700 pound bluefin and they never come loose. So that works for me.
First thing we did was we did the loop in our main line. This was the wind-on, creating a wind-on. And then the third thing we'll do is we'll actually do the loop-to-loop connection. And then you'll know everything you need to know about using wind-on leaders to catch big bluefin tuna.